Okay, peace, everyone. Welcome to the show. Got another good show for you lined up today. How's everybody doing? I'm going to be going into private ordering a lot. If you call in and ask me questions about something that I think is ridiculous or doesn't have any type of bearing in anything, I'm just going to tell you straight out. So get prepared for that. Because I'm headed in the direction of private ordering and private trust. Okay, so I would suggest that you have some questions about that, but hey, you can call in. The call-in number is posted on the screen for everybody looking in. The call-in number is 404-948-5610. It is on the screen. And I already see we got somebody from Georgia already want to call in 678-1049. You're on the line. What's on your mind?
Hey, peace to the guys.
Peace to the guys. What's happening, man? What's going on?
Hey, man, I just want to first thank you, man. This is my first time being on with you. I've been listening to you for 4 years, and I want to thank you for all that you do, man, for real.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me for 4 years. What's going on? What you
Oh,
got
man,
for me?
man, I was listening to all these sovereign citizens out here on the internet, and it almost got me caught up, a few years ago. So, you know, I, I um I successfully, through you, man, just a testimony real quick, successfully defended myself last year in the court of law, man. It wasn't nothing too big, traffic ticket, but just want to give that, a testimony. And again, just your flowers,
I
bro, for that.
appreciate
So
it.
thank you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that. I appreciate that.
indeed, man. So a little bit about me. I'm 30, recently married, just had my firstborn son last year, and was on FEMA retention for a lot of my 20s. But y'all blessed me with a great wife. We really are the passing the buck. So the private trust, been going over that a lot with her over the past few years, man. And I did the SBC University, set up myself as a secure party creditor, or secure party slash creditor, But I wanted to ask you, and I know earlier you said to only keep it private ordering, private trust. Uh, I don't want to
Ask
get
me
too
whatever
off
you want to
topic with
ask.
that.
Just ask me whatever you want to
Hey,
ask. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
uh, I want to become a master more so on offsetting the debt, and I wanted to know what books that you recommend, at this age to become a master at that.
Okay, that's a very good question. All right. Where would I start? Okay, I can only, a lot of times when people ask me questions like that, I can only tell you how I did it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's the best way, but I will, I'll try to put this into a story for you, and just so you can understand how I learned how to offset debt. I primarily I learned from reading a document called Creditors and Their Bonds. That taught me, and it wasn't just that book. It was that book, a book called One Man Out by Aaron Coates, and let me see, and a that was primarily it. Dealing with presentments taught me how to do an administrative process. See, when you're asking how to discharge debt, you're asking how to do an administrative process, is what you're really asking about. And the thing about it is, it's a set off, and you always have to remember that you're setting off a debt. And the first thing that you have to understand is, do you have a right to set off a debt? What gives you this right to set off a debt? And it is coming from the fact of the taking of the gold and the silver, and a some sort of expectation of return of that gold and silver, making the federal government into what is called trustee ex maleficio, or a constructive trust and equity, for unjust enrichment, because they took the gold and they owe it back to the American people. So every time you discharge a debt, you're making a claim against the taking of the gold. That has to be understood, because we're saying we're the creditor. All right, we're the creditor, and the United States is the debtor because they are in bankruptcy. Now, this is also the reason why when people do these status correction processes, that they want to separate the straw man from the living man. is because the straw man is a bankrupt entity and there isn't any money. So you can't use a bankrupt entity to discharge another bankrupt entity. So the clarification is when you do the status correction, or what y'all call status correction, I never really did like that term. But what it is it's a rebutting a presumption that there is any type of amalgamation between you and this all caps name, meaning that you're acting in the capacity of a private person instead of I'm sorry, you're acting in the capacity of a public person instead of a private one. And that's what you're making clear on the record. And the reason for that is because all of substance is on the private side. All right. Human beings or real living souls are in the private. There's nothing but artificial entities in the public, artificial bankrupt entities in the public, because we know that everything in the public is operating through what? Through debt based currency. But in the private side, there's substance. Why is there substance? Because real living people have the capability of performing labor. So they have a value. All right, so they can hold a bond. They can hold a bond because they can always pledge their future labor for the repayment of a debt. Don't act like that doesn't happen because people have done it all the time, all the way through, in the beginning of this country. When like if you went down to the store and bought some bread from Mr. Johnson and didn't have any money, but you give them a promissory note, say I'll pay you back at the end of the week. People have always done this. I pledge their future labor for the repayment of a debt. So this is in essence what you are doing. So you need to understand the groundwork of why you are doing this. That's the first thing. The next thing is you got to learn how to construct a negotiable instrument. Okay, I would strongly suggest that you read bills and notes. This is what I did in American jurisprudence, so I can understand the function of negotiable instruments and how they are utilized. I would also read the IRS employee manual, and so I can verify for myself that when they do receive a bill of exchange, they are instructed to send that to the Treasury Department. So these are some things you're going to do for that. You got to also make sure you don't put any routing numbers or anything public on your negotiable instruments, or route your negotiable instruments through any of the public conduits from the American Banking Association. You don't want to have anything to do with that, because if you do, you're going to end up getting a charge and probably get arrested. All right, that's why when you send all your correspondence, you send it certified mail with an affidavit of mailing. In the case of a negotiable instrument, it's going to be registered mail, okay, with tracking on it. All right, that is like a CUSIP number in our private world, because a CUSIP number is just a tracking number. A registered mail is a tracking number. It allows you to track it so we can determine who is the holder of that instrument. You are the holder in due course of that instrument. However, to establish yourself as a holder in due course, you need to have a claim on the instrument. You holder in due course status derives from UCC 3-302. That ties into UCC 3-305 and UCC 3-306, which are claims and recoupment and claims to an instrument. You have to know how to put a claim on an instrument. That's why each time that you issue a negotiable instrument, it has to be also with a UCC3. A UCC3 is a collateral add. You're going to add collateral. It's an amendment to your UCC1. Why am I doing an amendment? Because every time I discharge a debt, I'm adding collateral to my private property, because that's my property. That negotiable instrument is mine. Okay, and I'm putting in a claim on it, and that's what it has to be with a UCC3. Every time you discharge a debt, you're doing an assignment of credit through the UCC3. That UCC3 needs to accompany that negotiable instrument also, along with whatever cover letters and discharge documents that you're sending with that. Okay, because you have to fulfill the requirements of a holder in due course. So you need to know what a holder in due course is. Quite frankly, if you don't understand UCC 3-302, I don't think you should be trying to discharge any debt whatsoever. If you don't know what a holder in due course is and the difference what a holder and what a holder is. You can also read the banker's handbook. I'm going to put this on the screen for everybody. It is an excellent document for people to read. Did I put it on SBC University? I may have put it on SBC University where you can download it. It's called the Bank Officer's Handbook. It's called the Bank Officer's Handbook .pdf. It is on the internet for free. You can download it. Matter of fact, you can find a copy of it on Scrib. Okay, I'm going to put it on the screen so people can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so this is the bank officer's handbook right here. This is a very good book. If you want to learn about negotiable instruments and so forth, this is an excellent book, especially for the UCC. I would read the entire chapter in here on UCC 3-302 so you can get an understanding what a holder and due course is. If you don't understand what a holder and due course is, you should not be dealing with negotiable instruments, trying to discharge debt, or do any of those things whatsoever. Also, you need to understand the rules of evidence, what a presentment is, okay? What is an opportunity to cure, what that means, okay? Because you need to know the procedures involved when you present a negotiable instrument. It's called a presentment. All right. What is the difference between a bill of exchange and a promissory note? A promissory note is a two-party instrument. A bill of exchange is a three-party instrument. Okay, what a maker and what a drawer is, this distinction between those two things. Okay, these are things, and then also you need to know how to defend your position when you go into court, because that's ultimately going to be at the end of the day what is important. Can you stand on what you just did? Do you understand what you just did? There isn't any money, and there's no rules in any document that I've ever read that says anyone has to pay a debt in a particular species of currency. Another document you need to master is uh, uh, the affidavit of Walker Todd. You need to understand that. You probably should read Modern Money Mechanics, put out by the Chicago Federal Reserve. You should understand that. You should understand the Accounting and Financial Standings Accounting Standards Board Statement number 95, in particular the section on financial institutions on page 21 of that document. All right. These and you should understand some accounting. You should understand what an accounts receivable and an accounts payable is, and off balance sheet reporting. You need to know what that, and you definitely need to understand how to issue a subpoena ducis tecum, a subpoena for documents in case you need to go into court, what documents you're going to subpoena. So from A to Z, you need to understand your process of what it is that you're doing. The first thing you need to do is you need to educate yourself about negotiable instruments. You need to know how to conduct an administrative process, which is an evidence gathering tool that basically demonstrates that you have operated in good faith and with clean hands. All right. What is your documentation going to say? What is the cover letter going to say? Where do you send it to? Who is the one that you made the agreement with? Why are you able to discharge debt? Have you read ACR 182 of June 5th, 1933, Public Law 73-10, and all associated policies? You understand what that's talking about? Okay. Who do you send it to? Well, the government, obviously, they're the ones that said they'll discharge it dollar for dollar. So that right there is a clue right there. Nobody else said they're going to do that. Not the corporations, not anybody said the government would do that. Next, what kind of processing instructions are you going to have? There's some good processing instructions out there. Um, Using your exemption by Moses Washington and the exemption by Moses Washington, they got some pretty good documents in there where you can pull some processing instructions out of those documents, and probably you got ChatGPT, you can amend them and update them and so forth. However, what I learned from is a variety of different sources, everything that I just gave you. What really gave me a good insight into the administrative process was creditors and their bonds. That's what it is, an excellent administrative process. I studied negotiable instruments through American jurisprudence and the Bank Officer's Handbook, Article 3 of the UCC, which deals with negotiable instruments. You should understand those things and the enforcement of negotiable instruments. So if you want to be an expert, as you just said, it's going to require a lot of reading on that particular point. You know, now if you want to go out and discharge debt, I don't try to discharge debt to buy houses and cars and all that stuff anymore. I'll protect myself from going to jail or something like that, but I much more spend the bulk of my time trying to get rich than trying to discharge debt and running in and out of courts and things like that all day. That's just my preference. But I did all that when I was younger. You know, I did a lot of that, running around in courts and discharging debt and getting in an argument with sheriffs and all that shit. I did that a long time. Any other
I
question?
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I'm in complete agreement with that as well. It's more so a tool in the toolbox for you to know how to do these
Yeah,
things.
it's you pick and
Um,
choose your battles. When you first learn it, you try to discharge everything, but you don't discharge
yeah,
everything. I don't need to discharge my utility bills, but people try to do that. Where does it say you can discharge? Utility companies got leverage on you. If they don't like what you're doing, they'll just cut off your service. So use your common sense. The best leverage you can get is on a car and a house, and nothing bigger than a house because they can't take your house, but they can come pick up a car. If you try to discharge a car, they are going to try to come pick it up. They're going to come try to pick it up. So if you discharge a car, you need to put it in the garage and don't drive it until the matter's resolved. But if you try to discharge a car, they're going to try to pick it up.
indeed, indeed. And I remember you said probably last year, you were talking about how a lot of these processes are not supposed to actually go on the docket. That these are supposed to be private processes, and you want to like
None of them are
wade
supposed to
through it.
be in the public. They're private processes. All you're supposed to be putting on the public record is notices of what action you're taking in the private. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So all your correspondence that you submit to them, that the notices is just telling what you're doing. Like for instance, once again, that's why creditors and their bonds was such an excellent document because it gives you the notices and tells you what you're supposed to be doing. All right, you give notices in the form, you file them in a pleading format into the public. Like for instance, this is notice that I have accepted these obligations for value and consideration, and I'm currently in the process of reaching settlement and closure with the opposing party. That's the notice that goes into the public. Okay, but you don't put copies of bonds and all this other kind of stuff that people put. You don't put that. You don't put a private process into the public. That's the problem with everyone. They looking for evidence of something, and why are you looking for evidence of a private process in the public? These people actually believe that they're going to go into a courtroom and somebody's going to say, you know what, Mr. Jones, thank you for your payment. We really appreciate those GSA bonds. You know what else we're going to do, Mr. Jones? We're going to release all liens on you, and we're going to let you go right now, and no probation, no parole. And you think they're going to say that? They're not going to say that. If people would have took the time to read the document like I told them, it'll tell you in there how they play it when you do things, but nobody wants to read that. And then people, this is what was really interesting. Somebody said to me, well, they don't want to come to your university because you have a lot of free stuff. Well, no, I don't have a lot of free stuff at my university. You won't find anything at my university floating around the internet unless I want it to be. That's number one. And number two, it is free, but you don't read it. Yeah, so you're going to pay somebody to explain it to you because I'm not explaining it to your ass for free. Since you want to say that it's free, yeah, you're right. It's out there for free. And take your ass over there and go read it. And if you need to understand it, pay that $99 and come over to SBC University and I'll explain it to you.
That part, that part. I got one more question. I'm gonna let you
Yeah,
go.
go ahead.
So, in regards to actually carrying out this in the court of law, would you, and forgive me if this sounds, a little bit off, but because this is a private process, would you still remain behind the bar, or would you be
I
able to
don't
go
stand
front
behind the
row
bar. I don't
to
do all that. I don't have to do all
you
that.
do all of it?
Nah, man. See, what y'all be talking about, all that stuff is mythology of how they obtained. You see, that's a thing they give them jurisdiction over me. They got jurisdiction. What are you talking about? Hell, first of all, you didn't went into the court. You didn't petition the court. If you discharge the debt, ain't you the one to petition the court? Or if they pull you in the court, it don't matter. Let me tell you something. This is not a criminal matter. The only time I would even be thinking about something like that is if I was in a criminal matter. But if I'm in a civil matter, I'm not standing behind the bar and all that saying you don't have jurisdiction over me. All those crazy ass shit. It is about a debt or some sort of monetary thing or some sort of injury. And they got jurisdiction over you anyway. All that shit they talking about, you don't have jurisdiction over me. Just throw all that stuff in the trash. Just throw that in the trash. There has never been a time in the history of this where somebody went into court saying that you don't have jurisdiction over me where it worked. Never. It's always been you address the taxes or some sort of commercial aspect to it. Ain't nobody, you don't, we didn't even do that back in the day. Everybody was doing acceptance for value. Some people were trying to stand outside the bar and everything. You can do it if they let you do it, but I don't see the need for it. I don't see the need for that. You know, it's like that's not the
Like
issue.
special appearance.
Special appearance got killed on the federal level. So if you're in federal court, they don't have anything like special appearance. No such thing as special appearance. But you're making a special appearance for the sole purpose of challenging jurisdiction. Why are you challenging jurisdiction? For what? I'm not challenging jurisdiction. I'm trying to determine jurisdiction. I don't challenge jurisdiction. I'm trying to determine jurisdiction because in the determination of that jurisdiction, I'm going to find out if it's civil or criminal because I'm saying it's civil. And there's a lot of evidence to substantiate that. It's civil matter. That's what I'm trying to find out. Now, I'm not asking, is this civil or criminal, so I can turn around and say you don't have jurisdiction over me. You have never heard me say that, and I'll never ever say that. And if anybody telling people to say that, they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they're talking about. That has never worked. And I got court cases I pulled up all the way back to 1980. But people going in court saying that all them farmers up there in Montana and Oregon and all that, y'all got all that stuff from them. That's who y'all got that from. From them. But if you want to do it, you go ahead and do it. I don't do that.
No, I mean, look, you from everything I've seen, man, you ain't steer me wrong, man. I do my research, I do my research.
You know, let me just say this. None of this is written in stone. Everybody's experiment. Like I experimented with a lot of stuff, like dropping the birth certificate in the well of the court and turning around and walking out, and doing all this kind of stuff right here. But it's not a person is not what people think it is. That's the main thing. That's why y'all doing all of that stuff because you don't want to be that person. The status correction, and that's what messed everything up because y'all started calling it status correction. Okay. And they started doing that, I think, around 2018 or something like that. Start calling it the Moors are the ones who coined that phrase. And the white people picked it up. They got it from the Moors and everything. Like they're the ones who coined that phrase status correction. But in the beginning, it wasn't anything called status correction. It was called rebutting a presumption. Okay. The presumption that you and this all caps name were one and the same. Okay, and one in the same acting and one in the same capacity. You're letting them know that, look, I'm going to be operating in a private capacity. Okay, and when I come into the public, the straw man is going to be acting as some sort of transmitting utility or something to that effect. I'm going to be utilizing it to offset public obligations, utilizing private credit. But the whole purpose of doing this status correction is so you could confirm this status as a private individual for the purpose of the fact that all value and money is in the private because the public is bankrupt. So where are you going to pull value from if you're trying to discharge debt as a public entity? Okay, a bankrupt entity can't discharge a debt with a bankrupt entity. And this is where that creditor and debtor situation came in. You're doing is that I'm the creditor. An obligation is owed to me for the taking of the gold in 1933. That's what it's all about. So if you understand the foundation of what you're doing, it all makes sense. It all fits in. What's happening is a lot of the process has been watered down by a lot of people in echo chambers and everything, don't know what they're talking about, and people just take information and run with it. But like I said,
that reminds me of like Genesis 47 when there was a famine in the land. When you talk about 1933, it reminds me how they all the people had to, they sold their land, they sold their cattle. They were trying to get food back then, and they ended up ultimately becoming slaves to Pharaoh. Would you say that's kind of similar to what happened in 1933?
I can see that. I think that this is the biggest thing that I think that happened. People became heathens. When I told a federal judge, I went in front of a federal judge and I told her this. I said, I'm not an ens legis, I'm not a nom de gore, I'm not a straw man, I'm not a debtor. I'm not, I went through this whole list of things telling her what I'm not. But when I told her I'm not a heathen, that's when her whole attitude changed toward me. When I told her I wasn't a heathen. See, a lot of this is the result of heathen activity. Let me just run it down to you. Everybody calls me and start talking about child support. Child support is a result of heathen activity. Divorces, heathen activity. Children out of wedlock, heathen activity. You stealing, using drugs, heathen activity. What is heathen activity? Now, heathen is a person that don't believe in God. How do we determine you don't believe in God? You're not following God's laws. You're not following God's word. The court is a representation of God. That's why when you came into the courtroom, they used to have a Bible under their hand. They asked you to swear to God. All evidence has to be sworn to God. The Levitical priesthood are the original judges. That's why it says in Leviticus 25:45. What does it say in Leviticus 25:45? Let's look at it right quick. Look what it says in Leviticus 25:45. Really interesting right here. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's look at it, see if we can get some understanding. This is Leviticus 25:45 right here. I want everybody to listen to this. Go down here to 45. All right. It's the law of the Jews, okay, of the children of Israel. Moreover, of the children of the strangers, this is a legal term too, that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession, and you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for possession. They shall become your bondman forever. But over your brethren of children of Israel, you should not rule over one with rigor. So in other words, these are debtors, these are debt slaves, as it says in the book of, the what is it? The debtor is what does it say in the Bible? What does it say in the Bible? The debtor, slave to creditor. What is that? What is that? Proverbs 22:7. Yeah. It said, the rich will rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. Okay, so if the United States is $38 trillion in debt, who are they a slave to? Well, who's the owner of who's the owner of the Federal Reserve? Jews. This is their law. We see it going on. They gave you a social security number. That's prima facie evidence that you're some sort of debt slave. You're an obligation. Every time you work, they take 1/3 of your money out your check. What's really happening? So I think that it is this right here. I think that the problems that most people are having today is the fact that they have engaged in heathen activity. The women are acting out. They have all but completely renounced any type of biblical anything here in this country, even though the laws in this country come from the Bible and William Blackstone commentaries. Marriage is a religious institution. They have completely disavowed that. And everybody wants to walk around and act like it ain't no big deal when there is a cause and effect associated with any action that you take. So my thing is what is the cause and effect of having children out of wedlock? What is the cause and effect of having abortions? What is the cause and effect of divorces? What is the cause and effect? What's the cause and effect of all of this? What's the effect? What type of effect is that having? Nobody knows. They don't care. They don't think they need to care. And that is called ignorance. That's operating in ignorance. Because you don't know the ramifications of the actions that you're taking. What type of impact it's going to have. I often think about, like I'll use myself as an example. My parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. Probably up until 8 years old, I only remember my life as heaven. My father, he had a very good job. He worked for a corporation, Fortune 500 corporation. He breadwinner. My mother had a job too, and she made pretty decent money too. We lived in a very nice neighborhood, white neighborhood, brick house. I went to a very nice school. I was in athletic programs all the time, and I had straight A's. Okay. And every time I came home from school, I always saw my mama smiling. She's always had a smile on her face every time I saw her. Then one day, this is all I remember, they were arguing. And she got up and left and took us with her, and they never got back together after that. And from we moved from that house into the projects in Pleasant Grove in Dallas, Texas. First day there, I'm kind of thankful for all of this in a way. I'm kind of ambivalent because moving to the hood taught me how to fight. Yeah, that's the first thing they did when I got in the hood. I had to put on some boxing gloves. And same thing when I got to Oak Cliff. You know, I had to fight the young cat who was my age right behind my house. You know, it just, I don't even know the dude. I just got to go over there. Okay, you got to fight this guy right here and everything. I'm like, I ain't did nothing to this dude or nothing, you know. But that it was like street rivalries and things like that. And I'll forever love my friends that I got when I moved to Oak Cliff. You know, one of them passed away and it broke my heart. My closest friend that I grew up with uh, passed away last year and it broke my heart. But I'm saying all that to say, I wonder sometimes what my life would have been like had my parents had stayed together. You know, I got into hustling, I got into all kind of things, you know. Um, what would my attitude be toward women, you know, and things like this, you know, if I, you know, had proper training from an early age, because after that, it was just survival. It was just straight survival. I wasn't being raised, I was being maintained. I was not being raised. I was left to my own devices. I had to educate myself and figure out things on my own. And quite frankly, I think all our kids turned out very well. You know, I think we're okay. You know, I'm okay. You know, I had a couple of I had a couple of I had a couple of pitfalls along the way that happened to me in my life, but nothing too damaging that I couldn't bounce back from and recover. You know, so I'm thankful for that. But like I said, it had that it had lifelong ramifications. That divorce of my parents tore the family apart, all kind of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of these things that happen to us, we could prevent ourselves. If we thought differently, if we engaged in constructive thought, if we honored our obligations and things of that nature, if we acted honorably, a lot of this is the result. Look at what's happening in the world today. Look at the music that these women are listening to. I went out on a date with a younger chick, and I'm trying to play some R&B, and she want to hear some drill rap music. So how these little young girls listen to these little, like when Sexy Red came out, I just knew. When I heard her first song, I said, ain't no way they gonna, I can't believe she as big as she is. That right there tells you about the mentality of the people. I mean, this is straight up garbage, refuse. I'm like, this is trash. You know what I'm saying? And they have embraced it and they love it. They love it. They love debauchery, immorality. And you wondering why things are happening for us the way that they happening? Uh,
Yeah, make a stallion up there come out of there, man.
I don't want to get into anything political right now because I'm trying to keep my
I know.
channel. I'm trying to keep my channel on, because the people on this channel, they Jewish. Two Jewish men. They own YouTube. They own Google. Facebook is owned by a Jewish person. Instagram, everything. OnlyFans, Pornhub, all of them. They got all of this stuff. So, the people should take the time to see, okay, well, what is it what governs these people? How do they feel about us? And what laws do they operate by? That should be the serious question because they do regulate society. A lot of people won't accept that because they think it's white people. But it's really the majority of the people you see on television are not white people, they're Jewish. 90% of the people on TV are Jewish, who you call white. But see, the ignorant black person will say they all the same just because they lack melanin. But they don't view it like that. They don't look at it like they don't look at themselves as the same. You can get Ben Klassen's book, The White Man's Bible, if you want to confirm any of the things that I'm saying right now. Or go listen to David Duke. on BitChute, who was a grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan about 40 years ago. You know, he's very political now. You know, they tell you what's going on. Y'all just not listening. They're very vocal about what they're going on in their position. Y'all just not listening. And there's also a document called We Thought They Were White. We Thought They Were White. My man, your brother wrote this too. Dontel Jackson, We Thought They Were White. Right here. Let me put it on the screen for everybody. It's here right here. We thought they were white. Everybody who are listening right now should read this article. But you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it because a lot of people just don't like to read. And you know, they want to read, you know, that's free stuff on, okay, did you read it? Somebody told me that. You know, it's a lot of stuff free on the internet. Yeah, you don't read it though.
I was listening to Nuri Muhammad a few minutes ago before I hopped on your call from the Nation of Islam, and he was talking about how 90% of adults, they don't read a book after they graduate high school.
Most don't. I read all the time. That's why I have to read. I mean, they don't read. That's a big issue. 50% of American people read on the 7th grade level. Do you see, are you on Instagram and checking out how a dude is going around asking people to read a piece of paper and it got, you know, get big words on it and how many, and we just look foolish. But I already know that. I knew that because I used to tutor English and compositional grammar to freshman students, and it was embarrassing. And they had high school diplomas, and they couldn't read, couldn't spell or read. I couldn't believe it, and neither could any of the teachers at the university either. They couldn't believe it either. But this is real. This is what's happening in the United States right now. If you go listen to what's her name, Sarah Issenbach, I forgot whatever her name is. It's called The Dumbing Down of America. It's on YouTube. Go listen to her. Go listen to her. They've been dumbing down. They've been intentionally doing this. You know, I watched when they took all the trades out. We used to get a trade coming out of high school. You could have a trade coming out of high school. Now they took all that out of high school and want y'all to go get loans to go to college and be in debt. Majority of people in debt and ain't even working in the field that they got their degree in. I just find that interesting, but I guess there's some advantages to it. But it just happened to be that most of the people I know who are very successful and wealthy, a lot of them don't have college degrees. I think it's I think it's bypassing and indoctrination. Is just my opinion. But you know, I'm not trying to downplay college degrees. You know, if you got a college degree, good for you. But it's not any indicator of intelligence or any type of measure of how successful you're going to be, any metric for that whatsoever in the future, how successful you're going to be. Because being successful only has two. To be a success, you only have to have two qualities. You have to have a definite chief aim, a purpose, a goal, and a determination not to quit. Those are two qualities that you need to have. They don't have anything to do with their education. I would think that Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad would kind of shed some light on that a little bit, you know. Hey. But anyway, brother, look, let me go, bro. I got some people in that want to call in. I appreciate your call.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you.
All right, guy.
Peace.
All right, hold it down. Oh, they got off and everything. Somebody called in. Okay, so what we got? It's actually black people's law. However, it was stolen by the fake Jews and Lucifer's Israel. However, that is a different story and conversation. You know what? Let me tell you something. It's so many black people say we are the real Jews. How can you be the real Jews when you don't follow the law? I don't understand when you say that. They are following, at least they are attempting to observe the law. You are not following the law, but you want to spend all your time saying they're not the real Jews, but they living the culture and you're not. You're living like a heathen. And that's why they keep pushing it on you, because they do know you the real ones, but you ain't acting like it. So they keep feeding you, they feed you heathen food. You go to your grocery store, they'll put some pork bacon on top of some beef. Here, eat this. I'll put some pork bacon on top of a chicken. Here, eat this. Yeah, go get you a tattoo. Let's push these tattoos out on all of y'all and everything. Go tattoo your body up. Put them all over your body. Have the cells in your body constantly fighting. Yeah, go ahead and eat some sushi. Eat all that scavenger food from the sea, and make sure you got a lot of parasites in your body, so your body can have to be spending all the time fighting off all those parasites. The Chachina worm, that's in the pig and everything. Go ahead and eat that pig. Go ahead and eat it. Yeah, listen to that trash music we're going to keep, because they own the music industry. You keep listening to that trash music. As a matter of fact, we need you to keep masturbating too. Go on over there on the Pornhub and sit down in that chair and masturbate and things like that. But all you want to say is, we the real Jews. I know Moses was mistaken for an. What do you mean, cap? I know. You don't listen? Okay, the Mizrahites, right? Mitzrayim. Okay, that's who the Egyptians are. You're right. He was, because Ham, Shem, and Japheth were born in the same year. They were born when Noah was 500 years old, so they had to be triplets. I'm not sitting here questioning whether he was a black man. That seemed to kind of elude you, and it went over your head. I'm saying you're not acting in the capacity of a Jew. So your claim doesn't mean anything, because your actions are not in alignment with your words. But you don't think that's important. That's why you made this statement. That's cap. Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. They weren't called Egyptians. They were called Mitzrayim. They're from Mitzrayim. They descended from him. Egyptian is a Greek term. No, they're not living the law. They like to give lip service to things, and they think that's important. They don't think their actions and their conduct are important. That's why I don't never pay attention. They say, we the real Jews. I'm like, you're not living like one. Not following the law. If you're a real Jew, you're going to follow the 613 laws of the Torah. End of discussion. End of discussion. You know what I'm saying? That's why in this space, y'all will declare or claim something without any foundation. I'm claiming my nationality, but you don't have any foundation for that claim that you just made. You don't even have proof of claim that you descend from from some of the Moors in some capacity, because you ain't taking like a DNA test or none of that. You don't know where you descend from or how much what you got in your blood. Everybody in this country been mixed. There's been so many mixing going on in the United States. It's a melting pot for real. I'm just saying. I wonder how you turn to hustle and entrepreneurship, having grown up with parents working jobs. Well, I just say my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old, and we moved to the hood. I mean, elites tell you that what their next move is, because they can't force you in anything. Oh, they do. They tell you through movies. They tell you through movies. It's the Bible says action is important. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. That should be pretty clear to everybody. It's because of the mothers, their minds are warped, and they raise children with warped minds. I'm not going to put all of this on the women, because when I was growing up, let's have a conversation. When I was growing up, like when women were more ladylike, and they did exhibit these, they wanted to get married, they wanted to be wives, and they wanted to be mothers. A lot of us was cheating on them and trying to screw as many of them as we could. You were taking women's virginity without caring about it or anything like that. You're going to have to look at your actions, because it starts with you, not to mention the fact that a lot of these women have been molested by men. So this is what they mean when they say you ain't being protected by you, because they didn't feel like they were protected growing up because there's some uncle or sometimes even their own father is sitting there trying to molest them and everything. So there are things that debase activities that we have engaged in as men that we need to be held accountable for too as well. You know, I can't tell you the number of women I've dated in my lifetime who have claimed that they have been molested. A lot. If you go into the strip club, I guarantee you almost every girl in that strip club has been molested, and that's why they have devalued themselves the way that they have. They don't care about getting naked or doing anything like that because something that's they've been violated in some way at some point in their life. Do we need to have a discussion about that first before we get into the mentality of these women and why they acting the way they are? Because one thing I can tell you, when you get molested, it causes the woman to become promiscuous. That's one of the reasons they're promiscuous. Saying gold coin for 10 jewels. I appreciate that. So we need to get into, really, and this is why in scripture they had stoning. See, if there was brought back the death penalty for rape, there probably wouldn't be as much rape anymore or child molestation. See, there are certain things that need the death penalty. And you would give it the death penalty if you understood the spiritual ramifications of violating a woman. If you really understand the cause and effect associated with that and come to an understanding of, just how bad that is, how egregious of a crime that is it warrants the death penalty. And like in the scripture, they say we have to remove that spirit from the community because that's a spirit and you have to extract it from the community. And that's why they had stoning. They knew what they were doing in antiquity. They weren't all just primitive or anything like that. They understood more spiritual things than we did today, and we do today. Elites tell you it's because, so I'm not going to do that. It will keep the family together if we did that. They are playing the game based on, oh, hold on. Let me see if let me go back to Georgia real quick. 404-2864. 404-2864. Georgia. Your mic is open.
What up? What up? Peace, 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 God.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
You got it. You got it. So look, man, I wanted to piggyback, man, off some of those things that you was saying, man, about just the whole kind of like delusion that, like when you made that example about people going to college and people getting trade, like I don't really think, man, that like people understand what you were saying about like getting a trade versus going to school. And I graduated in '95, and where people were like, that's all a lot of people were doing was getting trades. I had a lot of people that was going getting HVAC, electricians, and coming straight out of high school making real good money, where they never had to go to college. You know what I mean? So like I think, and well, I'm agreeing that a lot of the I guess what people are, I guess the system is pushing people to go and get into debt to go to college. You know what I mean? And you get into a position where you be fighting for a job and you don't have no skills to do nothing. You got a lot of paper, you know what I mean? But you don't got no skills.
That's
So
why
I kind of wanted to.
I often think about my own situation. I'm so thankful that right out of high school, I got a real good paying job with US Sprint without a degree. I didn't have to have a degree. And I worked there for about almost 3 years at US Sprint. But what that showed me when I got a job there is that I didn't want to work in corporate America. I knew I didn't want to work in corporate America. I actually got a got a I got raises, I got promotions and things of that nature, but then I got laid off. When I got and I'm young, I'm saying I got laid off. So when I got laid off, that's when I moved to Atlanta. and start getting into all kind of things. But what it did was it showed me, I'm like, I mean, man, they're going to college and doing all this so they can come here and work. Cause I felt like working in an office was like working in a warehouse, only I got an opportunity to wear a suit. That was the only thing. I mean, this job right here is like everybody around me had college degrees, but they were doing menial type tasks, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's like it don't what they were doing to me didn't require a college degree. That's what I'm trying to say. I said this doesn't. You can train anybody to do this, off the street. And so from that perspective, I had made a decision early on in life that I never would work a job again, and I didn't. That was the last job I had when I was 22 years old, and I never did. So after that time, I was completely in making money for myself mode. Now with hustling is something. It's a misdirection of energy. It's the right mind, it's the right mindset. But what it does do for you, it gives you a lot of confidence that you can make money for yourself. That's what it does, And if you learn how to take that confidence and move it over into the entrepreneurial world, take that same energy. That's all I did. I just moved it over into here. I made a lot of money on both sides of the fence, and but it was because of that entrepreneurial or that self-determinative spirit I had. And I think that one of the problems is that when people have jobs, it's almost like an addiction. It's like, because like if you lose your job, you don't know what to do. This is what I'm talking about. Like so somebody, a lot of you out here who work jobs, if you got fired the next day, you're gonna be sitting at home thinking, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be nervous. You're gonna be wondering what you're gonna do. In the entrepreneurial world, we don't experience none of that. If some money, if some sort of cash flow dry up, you just start using your creativity to create another one. It's not like, oh, what am I going to do or anything like that. You actively started using your creativity and start thinking of ways to bring in revenue because you know you can do it because you've done it so many times before. And you're not even thinking.
Can I add to your wisdom on that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's one of the other things as far as like that's a program as well. I'm an entrepreneur as well. And I guess I'm not going to even say sadly, I got a college degree, and I graduated from DeVry, and I got a degree in IT. And what I've noticed when I had graduated and I started to go and look for a job, I couldn't find a job. I couldn't find a job. I was like, yeah, man, I got my degree. But what I found out was when I was going on the interviews is that they was giving me like technical, the interview was about, technical stuff that I had no knowledge. I couldn't have got the knowledge because I didn't have the experience. So I probably went on maybe about, 15 interviews and couldn't get a job. And then this one lady had said, she seen and heard the discouragement that I had. And she was like, if you go and get an A+ certification, I'll give you a job. And the certification, that's one of those trades that you're talking about.
That's what that's an A+ certification is for computers, and building computers.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hardware and software. I said I had an IT. I got an IT background.
Right.
I have a degree in IT.
Right.
So, she said if you get your A+ certification, I'll give you a job, help desk, And it took me maybe 3 or 4 months. I went and got the certification, came back, she gave me a job. She gave me a job. That started my journey into the IT field. So what I learned from then is that even when I left that company, the degree didn't mean nothing. So I started thinking like, damn, man, I went and got this degree, and it's really useless. You know what I mean? Because it didn't really teach me nothing. I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't really teach me anything. You know what I mean? And like the certifications, I went and got 3, 4 certifications. And those certifications is what got me paid. So I agree. And, and that started my entrepreneur journey itself. I started learning about credit, learning about business credit, learning about investing. And, like you just said, if I've been an entrepreneur for, maybe 15, 20 years now. If something goes wrong where I can't pay no bills, I already know how to go into a mode where I can use my creativity, like you said, to go and get some money over here so I can continuously live it. You know what I'm saying? So I agree I agree totally on everything you're saying, my
Yeah,
brother.
it is. You know, everybody who's an entrepreneur thinks that way. You know, that's why I said that working is like a disease because when you free yourself of it, you got to acclimate yourself because you know you're scared. First of all, you may be scared to take that step. That's why I tell people to do this. I
Here.
say, look, let's say you make $80,000 a year. Okay, what you should do is you should divide that 80,000 by 365. Whatever number you come up with, like let me I'm gonna pull it up right here on my phone. If you got a cat, where my calculator at? All right. So if you got $80,000 and you divide it by 365, that's $219. So you need to be figuring out a way to make $219 a day. That's your first goal. What can I do to make $219 a day? Okay, I can sell something that costs $30. If I can sell four of them a day, that'll do it. Something that costs $30, four of them a day. What can I do to sell something that costs $30 and I just need to sell four of them a day? So when you start with that, now you're starting to train your mind. Now your belief is beginning to increase because you can see that, like, man, I think I can find something that I can sell four of them a day for $30, especially on the internet. Well, how am I going to do it on the internet? Well, you might have to take some time to learn how to build a website or put a website together and take the step to that to understand what hosting is all about. Okay, let me give me a domain name. Let me register a domain name. Let me give me a hosting account. Let me go and incorporate my name and open up a business account. Let me take the necessary, all that right there I just named, you can do it all in under $100. It's not expensive at all. You're just taking the steps to do it. Now, when you got it in place, now you take the next step. Well, let me find a product I can sell. I can put on my website, or maybe I can monetize my knowledge on what I got. Now you're doing that. Now the next thing you do is you say, okay, well, how am I going to market it now? Well, shit, I got YouTube. Let me just get on my YouTube channel. You know how I found out things by just trying it. The first time I did a webinar, um, I did a webinar. This is what started me doing webinars. I It was a girl. I was actually staying with a girl, and rent needed to be paid. And I was doing Blog Talk Radio for free, because I had the love. I was just doing it for the love of it. That's it, just for the love of it. And but I had been thinking about doing a webinar, but I was afraid to do a webinar. I'd never done a webinar before. I wasn't sure if I could do it right, but I kept looking at it, and I was looking at this software called GoToMeeting, and it was just mulling around in my mind. You should do a webinar, and because people were charging like $3,500 for a secure party process during this time, so I said, okay. So she said, the rent needs to be paid. You the man, you got to pay the rent. This was she hollering at me. And I probably had about $3,000 in the bank. And so the rent was going to be something like $1,200, $1,300. So it was going to eat up like almost half of my money. All right. So I could pay the rent, but I didn't want to take that hit on my money. I was trying to save up my money. So I looked at it. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a webinar. How much you gonna charge for it? I said, well, shoot, I didn't want to charge nothing crazy or anything like that. And then in my mind, I thought, well, I'm on the internet. It doesn't matter because I feel like a lot of people are gonna come. I said what I felt like. I said because a lot of people want this information and a lot of people are gonna come. So I'm gonna go for volume. All right, that's what I'm thinking in my mind. So I charged $150. Man, I got on the radio and announced it. When I announced it, within an hour, 10 people signed up. So I had $1,500. And then by the end of the day, I had $6,000. And I just, from that point on, that I knew where I was going after that. I said, I'm gonna do webinars. And then that led into me building a membership website and things. Everything was just progressive over time. It led to me wanting to give better quality material, get better cameras and better microphones and things like that, to make my stuff professional because I had a desire to be professional, like much like what you're seeing right now. And it was progressive. No, at no point did I ever think in the beginning that I would be where I am right now. I didn't even think nothing like that.
Hey, I did, Yusuf. I seen you since 2019, and I seen how you kept improving yourself through your website, how you start making the documents better, the availability of the documents, how you kept doing the website. I've seen you can look when you're in that journey yourself about just getting better every day. You know what I mean? You can look out and see other people doing the same thing. So I already knew you finna go. I've been saying this before, man. They better get you when they can and get some real money so they can keep your attention. But I already know, man, I can see where you're going at with the information, how you doing the AI. And bro, I already see how you growing, bro. You know what I mean? I just see how you keep going. And I see how your mind is working and how, like that ignorance is just like, man, I ain't even trying to get that no, I ain't trying to get that shit no attention no more. You know what I mean? Not, focusing and just arguing with folks, but I see where you're going at though, bro. So I already knew you was gonna be where you at.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, um I just believe in just getting better and better every day, just progressively. And one of my cameras went out, man. I had to check on this camera and see what's going on with this camera over here. This camera's tripping.
But I ain't gonna hold you too much, Yusuf,
Uh,
man. I didn't call in a couple times on you, man. I always call in. You know what I mean? Not always, but I called in a couple times, man. I've been to most of all your seminars, and I've met some real cool people, man. Some like-minded people. And like I said before, the last time I called, you do got some people out here that are actually, what I'm saying,
I
listening to
know.
what you're saying.
Yes, I
And I
know.
really appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate you too, brother. I appreciate you too. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. But I have to grow. Y'all better be ready to grow with me because I'm growing. All right. Just be ready to
You
grow
gonna
with me,
I
okay?
see a lot of people gonna fall off. A lot of the ignorance is gonna fall off. I already see it. You know what I mean? You know how it goes.
Yeah, it is. It
Peace and
is.
love to you, bro.
Unfortunately, they have to be left behind. But hey, anyway. Hey, brother, but thank you, okay?
Peace and love.
Peace and love. All right, let me go to let's dip over to New York real quick. We got New York on the line. New York, your mic is open.
Hey, what's up, Yusuf? Peace to the guys. How are
Peace
you?
to the guys, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Listen, I'm new to this a lot of all this information. Um, so I'm just in a learning mode right now. Uh, I am reading quite a bit. I don't mind reading. My background is in tech. I'm an engineer, software engineer, but it, it I have a question about in my reading and then looking at some of your videos. One of the things that really struck me was the private member organization.
Right.
And how key that is to organizing and building. Um, Wanted to get your thoughts on whether you thought that that was something that would be incorporated into a lot of the movements to try to, even into this space
Hell yeah. As a matter of fact,
for building
I'm gonna tell you how
with
I'm
the private
attempting
members.
to do it. I'm attempting to do it through a private trust and a private member organization. Have my private member organization operate through like a private business trust. But yes, that is how you're supposed to do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's what the Masons are. That's what the Rosicrucians are. The Illuminati. They are private member associations. They're associated people who are associated privately. They're exercising their private rights and they're arranging their affairs or organizing their affairs in such a way, but they're not seeking any type of public regulation. They're trying to avoid it at all costs as much as they can. But yeah, that's it. I mean, private member associations, yeah, they all around you, man. You just don't know it. They're all around you. They're all around you. They've been in operation for thousands of years. It's what you're looking for. It's what you're looking for. It's what you've been looking for. See, the problem with the reason why the sovereign citizen community is not going to be able to accept it, number one, because it requires reading. So it's going to require you to exert some sort of effort to actually learn the information. Number two, they're going to have to disavow a lot of the things that they believe in. They really believe that they are the sovereigns, they are the masters, and the people in the public are the public servants, and they need to bow down to their will. They won't acknowledge the fact that they've received a delegation of authority much in the same way that trustees receive a delegation of authority from a trust instrument. See, if they studied trust law, they would understand what their power is. Beneficiaries don't have no power in a trust. The trustees have all the power. Beneficiaries have an entitlement right to receive a distribution from the trust. And under equity, they are looked at as the true owners of the trust, because if the trust dissolves, all the property in the trust raised is going to go to the beneficiaries, or what they call the uh, um, I'll think of it in a minute. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that yes, a private trust, private member association, that's what we're supposed to be utilizing if you want to exercise privacy.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, that's funny because, I think with everybody who reads, there's always something that strikes you for whatever reason. And that's one of the things that struck me about, when going through a lot of this information. Well, the little information I've gone through so far. So, yeah, thanks for that insight. And I do have one question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
As far as secure party process is concerned, probably the only thing I would use it for is probably for student loans that were signed. My daughter graduated with a master's and my son graduated. So is there any issue with using the secure party process for those kinds of debts?
Yeah, there's no issue using it with any kind of debt. The thing about it is do they have leverage on you or not? Like student loans, I don't know what the success rate is for a student loan. I've never, discharged a student loan because I don't have any student loans. But I can't tell you what, but it's no law against you trying to do it, if you do it the right way, But like I said, I look at leverage. What kind of leverage do they got? Because if you had to go in court and argue this, are you going to be able to stand on it against the federal government? Maybe, maybe not. I back in the day, I would do it. Back when I was younger and everything, like, hey, yeah, I'm going to discharge this, and if we're going to go to court, let's go to court. I was that kind of person. Because I understood, I was willing to stand on what I was doing. I knew what I was doing was right. I knew that my negotiable instruments were not illegal. In other words, that's why I used to take them to court and put them right under the judge's nose. Say, here you go, right here. I'd show it to them and everything, because I ain't put no routing numbers on them or anything like that. And then I understood I was within the bounds of the law. Okay, show me in this contract where it says that I have to satisfy this obligation with any particular species of currency. And then I would have the affidavit of Walker Todd as my expert witness. I'd have that attached as an exhibit. They hated that because that's an attorney who worked for the Federal Reserve. So it depends on what you want to go through. Like I said, if I knew that I was going to do that, I would hope that it gets discharged and they zero it out. But I would expect also that I might have to go to court and, try to take care of it. And if I got to go to court to take care of it, am I ready to stand on everything that I was doing?
No, I hear you. And if I did go that route, I would try to be as ready as I could be.
Yeah, I mean, it don't hurt to try. As long as you do everything the right way, you ain't like you're gonna go to jail or anything like that. All they can do is write your letter and say this is frivolous, or we don't take this type of payment, or something like that. That's all that's gonna happen. So go ahead and then are you gonna ready to go back and forth with them about that? It's like, hey, look, because then you're gonna get a pushback. So when you get the pushback, what do you do when they push back? That's going to be the next thing. Do you understand how to handle a pushback? See, dealing with negotiable instruments, it ain't nothing like you just going to hand somebody a piece of paper and they're going to say thank you for your payment and go on. Because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right. And that's why I'm investing in reading.
Right.
To try to make sure that I have all the ammunition at my disposal, and that I can do so with clean hands and with, being upfront. And
that's the most important thing I can say is just know what the rules are. If you follow the rules, you don't leave them any room to get at you. That's the whole secret. Right. If you follow the rules step by step and don't leave them any wiggle room, that's when they're going to have a hard time dealing with you.
Well, yeah.
And that's the
I
reason
agree
you
with
learn.
that. I think
That's why you read the documents. That's why you have to know how to make a presentment, what an opportunity to cure is, why you're doing an administrative process. You know, what type of evidence that you're going to need. Are you within the bounds of the law? You know, is this a lawful reason for you to do this?
right.
You know, what constitutes lawful money? You know, all these different things. You need to answer these questions thoroughly in your mind first. In your mind, not have nobody tell it to you. See, that's another thing about people. There's a difference in somebody doing what they're told and people doing what they understand and what they have confidence in doing. You can only have confidence in doing something when you truly understand it and you know it. So the thing you have to do is you have to study this information, and when you are thoroughly convinced you are right, only then and only then should you take action because you're ready to stand on it. You know, you like I didn't verify this. I didn't looked up every word. I didn't verify the procedures. I'm within the bounds of the law, and I'm correct. So yeah, here you go. Take this. I know how the accounting goes on it because we're dealing with money of account. It's all money of account. So these are things that you understand and you learn, and it gives you confidence. And a lot of your confidence comes out in your paperwork too, because it's going to manifest in that now you're not using other people's paperwork. You're writing your own paperwork because you understand the process. So you know what needs to be said. I don't need to look at nobody else's paperwork. I'm going to write this. I'm recently in receipt of your Dunning letter requesting that I pay you in the amount of $98,256.13. Your presentment is herein accepted and returned for value attended with an international bill of exchange for full set off of this obligation. I'm going to write this. I'm just saying something right now off the top of my head. But if I sit down and write it, I know what to say. Okay? I don't have to look at anyone else's paperwork because I know what I'm doing. I don't have to ask anybody any questions. The first time I discharged the debt, there was nobody I could go to and ask nothing because I understood it from beginning to end because I'd spent 3 years studying it. So when that lady came to me and said, do you know how to do an administrative process? I was like, yeah, I know how to do that. Simple. And where did I learn how to do it from? Creditors and their bonds. I keep telling everybody to go there and read it, but nobody reads it. So it is what it is. And I think what happens is a lot of people, when they read it, they're confused on it because of the way it's arranged too. Like the first section is criminal, and the first section is civil, and the second section is criminal. And then they're explaining everything, and then all the paperwork is showing you how the administrative process go. A lot of people, they get confused when they read it too, and I think that's a big problem. But it teaches you, how to do an administrative process. It is what it is.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to that document yet, but that's not the next.
That's one you should read if you. That's one you should read if you want to discharge some debt. I definitely say you should read that one.
It's on my list.
Yeah. If you want to be dealing with negotiable instruments. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I've been seeing your progression in your videos, and I just want to say kudos to you for the effort that you're putting in.
Oh, I appreciate
for
it.
what you're doing because everybody can see it, right? Like I said, my background is tech, so if you ever need anything as far as AI automation for your website or anything that you're doing,
please,
let me know.
Please,
because I'm getting value
can you send me an email? Yes, I am interested in what you just said. Can you send me an email at admin@sbcuniversity.com? Admin at sbcuniversity.com.
Gotcha.
Just send me an email there, man.
All right.
I would be very much interested in what you are talking about. Very much.
Yeah, and the reason I'm even offering this is because I'm getting so much value off of SBC University and all of the documentation.
I appreciate that.
And all of that stuff, man. So this is I'm kind of because I'm still paying like $40-something, man. It's almost like I'm stealing. You know what I mean?
Well, I left that for the people who started with me, the 49. I didn't change their membership at all. It's $99 now, but all y'all, if you're paying $49, that means you were with me early on. So I just left it at, I left everybody at 49.
I was with you. Yeah, I was with you early on, but then I dropped out because I had so much going on, meaning I wasn't paying attention to any of it. I
Let me
just started, so I'm really just a beginner.
let me tell you something, man. You
You
know
know.
why the reason I don't mind the $49 and things like that is because, okay, we read a lot of case law at SBC University, and I read a lot of case law I haven't read before. So sometimes it's like I'm studying with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, like when you're dealing with a private trust, let me explain to everybody out there what I mean when I say that. Private trusts are like automobiles. You know, you have low end automobiles, mid tier automobiles, and then high end luxury automobiles. All right. Trusts are categorized the same way. So, like, you might go to auto mechanic school. I never went to one. Or asked me about it, but I don't know what you learned. But let's say you learn how to work on an engine, and then you come out of there. Are you going to work at Chevy? Or are you going to work at Ford? You know, or whatever? Because working on a Chevy might be a little different than working on a Ford or working on a Dodge. That they all engines though. They all have the same basic. They all operate off the same basic principle. They got the same features, but everybody's doing something differently. That's what the world of trust is. Like all trust have a settlor, grantor, creator, trustor. They have a trust corpus or a trust raise. They have trustees. They have beneficiaries. All right, they all have that. However, some may have a trust protector. You know, if you have some, you know, the trust is maybe it has assets in it that exceed $500,000 or $500,000. Some trusts serve different purposes, like an offshore asset protection trust. An offshore asset protection trust is going to have some different clauses in it than the domestic asset protection trust. Because a domestic asset protection trust is going to have some decanting provisions in it. An offshore asset protection trust may have uh, uh, may have a duress clause in it. They both might have duress clauses in it, but that duress clause is going to trigger, and that's what's going to protect the trust. And then the jurisdiction that you're going to put it in, or you got a spendthrift trust, okay, or a self-settled spendthrift trust. What jurisdiction is going to do? What? Every jurisdiction is not going to accept that. Some will. All right. Those are things that you have to take into account. So when you get into the world of trust, okay, it's a whole bunch of different trusts out there, but once you get your mechanics degree, you can learn how to work on any of them. You can learn how to work on any of them. You know what I'm saying? But you might have to learn certain different parts for this one. Like, okay, this is domestic asset protection trust. It has a decanting provision in it. How does that work? Okay, that triggers if there's some sort of duress, that triggers the
Right.
shift the citizen over into another jurisdiction, perhaps offshore. Okay. All right. So yeah, but you're not going to have. You can have a decanting provision, a provision in an offshore asset trust too, because you may want to move it to a different jurisdiction. However, but if you're in probably the Cook Islands, you probably don't want to do that. However, you know these are just things like that. But you understand what a trust is and how it works. Now they have different features. Some of them have come with a lot of more features than other ones do. Some of them are just a basic model. You know, some of them are fully loaded. You know, it's like that. And once you understand that, then you off to the races with trust. And you understand you can look at any trust and know how to operate it, how to work it. But they are not the same. Don't think that for 1 second. They are not the same. All trusts are not made the same. All trusts don't function the same way. No. No, they don't. Come to SBC University so you can get some clarity.
Yeah, I hear that.
But I
I hear that.
appreciate it. You say, but you like the look and everything. Does it look professional? I'm still working on this
Oh,
lighting.
absolutely. Listen, man, it's you know, it's really. I mean, talking about taking a step up. I mean, the whole production just looks different. The first time I saw it, I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I didn't even know you had a studio. I was like, "Dang," you know.
Actually,
So,
I'm just getting
you know,
ready
it's
to.
just one of those things, man. Like we do notice that you're moving in the right direction. And like I said, anything I can do to help.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I am moving in a direction. I'm actually going to start, actually offering my services to elite clientele. And so, we're already putting all this together and making moves behind the scene. And all I'm doing right now is getting into my role. and change. I got to start practicing being more professional. A lot, but I know how to be professional. I've worn suits and I've done this for a very long time. I've worked in corporate America. I've done some things, but uh, right now we're moving into a direction, and I like where we're going, and I'm very excited about it. And perhaps a lot of you will get an opportunity to go with me too. I'm going to be focused more on private trust. Uh, that's the topic. That's what you got to learn if you're going. You have to. Everybody out here there listening to me should be interested in the subject of trust. Everybody, especially if you are in any kind of way concerned about privacy. Okay, it's the ultimate tool. That and private member associations. Those are the tools. You only have a few tools to use on the private side: contracts, private trust, private member association, and private unincorporated association. Those are. It's not many tools for you to use, but you don't need a lot of tools because it's self-governance. You make the rules. Through contract. That's why contract is our superpower. You can make the rules. As long as you don't violate public policies or infringe in the public in any kind of way, you can do what you want to do. That's why I keep telling people the rule is you can do what you want to do as long as you don't violate the rights of others. What you sovereign citizens have to understand, the public has rights. It's called public rights doctrine. Now, when I just said that, it's a lot of sovereign citizens got mad at me for saying that. Ready to call me an agent. When this is just straight up basic law. It's just basic law, they're like, what do you mean the public has rights? How are they going to infringe on my God-given rights? Who has the rights? They taking my rights away. But they start all this pity, and I'm like, look, man, I just, it's just ignorance. It just start coming off as ignorance. Okay. All right. But anyway, man, look, you got any other questions, bro? I gotta get back. I got another call I gotta pick up. Okay, I guess he got dropped. Oh, he got dropped. All right, let me go to area code 812 Indiana. You on the line?
Hey, sir, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening, man? What's going on?
Not much. First, I want to say thank you for all the documents on the website just publicly. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
Webinar tonight.
Did you find? Well, hold on. Are those some pretty good documents, though?
Dude, there's so much stuff in there. I found the banker's handbook, like if I said it correctly. I found it in there. I mean, there's so much stuff in there, so I appreciate you.
All right, you're welcome.
A lot of information. The question I had is like when you talk about setting off debt and you do something like that, and again, I'm not wanting to do it. It's curious to me. It's like, what's the consequence if you go through it? Is it like, okay, if you have a credit card that's 30 grand, you say, hey, I want to set this off. You go through the proper procedures, you do it, you battle back, back and forth, and you win. Like, okay, that's, zeroed out per se, but does that put a bad mark on you then? Or
well, I'm gonna say like this: if you try to discharge a credit card, they're gonna cut off the credit card. They're gonna cut it off.
Yeah.
All right, you already know that. They so sensitive today about credit cards, man. I mean, if you have an insufficient fund transfer on your bank account twice, they'll cut off your credit card right now. So I can already tell you they're gonna cut off the card. I don't look at credit cards the way other people do. Credit cards are they facilitate. For me, they facilitate my credit, obviously, when you're building credit, because you're going to need credit for business, as well as the fact that they provide like a financial statement. That's what essentially what it is providing like a financial statement of your affairs, by how you handle your credit. But credit is used to be leveraged. I look at what's your goal? That's the first thing I'm going to ask people. A lot of people say, well, I just want to get out of debt. Well, that's not my goal. My goal is to have cash flow. My goal, let me explain to everybody my goal. Y'all talk in terms of money and in terms of fiat. Y'all like to use the word fiat currency. I don't think of it like that. And that's why you don't have any money, because you think of it like that. I think of money in terms of energy. How can I get energy flowing to me? Has everybody ever seen the model of a torus? It's called a torus. It's an energy model. It's an energy model. Let me see if I can. I usually have one that actually is moving and everything. Let me put yeah. Let me put this on the screen. All right, this is a torus right here. Uh, put it on the screen for you. All right, this is a torus. A torus feeds on itself. It's got like energy. This is how I visualize money coming to me because money is always coming in and out. The object of the game obviously is to get more coming in than goes out, All right, but I look at it as a circulating currency. I like how my man he said it. He said you should never use the word spend. Reverend Ike. He said you should never use the word spend. He said don't go out and say I'm spending money. Go out and say I'm circulating currency because you're teaching your mind that there's an inflow and outflow of energy that's coming. Money goes out and it's coming back in a current. It's called a currency. It's a current I'm trying to catch. All right, so that's my thing. It doesn't matter in what form it comes in. If they change money into marbles tomorrow, there are going to be a lot of people that don't have any marbles, and there are going to be some of us who have a lot of marbles. It's not because that the medium of exchange being used is marbles. It's because the people don't have any money, don't have the mentality associated with the production of that money. They don't have the right mentality. So that's what people are looking at. They're looking at it from the wrong. They're looking at the form and not the substance. The substance is what you always look at, and the substance of it is the energy. What is it that attracts money? What creates this flow of currency coming in and out? A continuous flow. That's what I'm seeking. That's what I'm looking for. So anything that I do, whether it be to discharge debt or whatever, if it's not accomplishing that end, I'm not going to engage in it because it's not serving the purpose. At the end of the day, what is the end goal? And the end goal, I'm talking about what is the end goal in your life? Every action that you should be taking with a view of that. Where am I going? What am I trying to achieve? But some people try to live off of discharging debt because they're lazy and they want something for nothing. And they're not creative and they can't make nothing shake for themselves. And they can't make nothing shake for themselves because they steeped in negativity. Let me tell you this space right here, this is the most negative, victim-minded space I think that's on the internet. That's all it's filled with. People are filled with victim-minded individuals. It's like a leper colony of victim-minded people. Everybody hates the government. Everybody is blaming all of their things that happen to them on any and everything but themselves. That's what you have in this space. And that's why everybody want to discharge debt. Why are you spending so much time trying to discharge debt? Shouldn't you be spending the bulk of your time trying to develop some sort of value that you can exchange out in the marketplace so you can shouldn't you be trying to experience abundance? So you think experiencing abundance is just getting rid of all your bills. You're not going to get rid of all your bills because you're going to go out and create some more because you're not disciplined. The reason that you have bills is because you're not disciplined. You're not mentally disciplined. You're just going to create some more. That's just like when they say, oh, can we get, what is this thing? We get, everybody want to go to the government and get some sort of restitution. Well, what they call it? The government give you the money, within a year, all that money gonna be right back in the hands of the wealthy. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. When I first started becoming an entrepreneur, I used to go up to Broadway and 25th in New York on Canal Street and get a whole bunch of bootleg stuff. Shirts, it's back when shirts and stuff was just coming out, like all the designers, FUBU, all that started out as t-shirts. I used to go up there, get a lot of that stuff, and come back down to Macon, Georgia on the 1st and the 15th to sell it. I had a van they get their check on the 1st and the 15th. Okay, so now let me tell you something about this. If I came to Macon, Georgia on the 2nd or the 16th, nobody would have any money. The people in the hood would get their money on the 1st and spend every dime of it on the 1st. They go buy groceries, they go buy food, get their entertainment, do whatever they're going to do, but they spent every dime of it with no thought of saving any of it. It was like Christmas every 1st and 15th. The 15th was only for the people who worked at the hospital. There was a hospital there in Milledgeville, and they got paid on the 15th. But the people who got the welfare checks, they only got that on the 1st. So if I wasn't there on the 1st, they said, "Why you didn't come yesterday? We spent all our money." That's a mentality. That's a mentality. And there are people who recognize that mentality and they cater to it. And they are producers. We have consumers and producers. So what is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to produce anything, or are you just trying to consume everything? And you just want to discharge debt so you can consume more. But what are you trying to do as far as on the productive end? What type of gift do you have that you're going to offer to the world in exchange for some sort of remuneration or something like that? You should be thinking like that, because everything in the universe is about exchange. There is no such thing as something for nothing. It doesn't exist in contemplation of reality. You have to understand that if you want something, you're going to have to give something. So you need to decide on what you're going to do and what that's going to be. But these are truths that I've always said too. I've been saying this for ever since I've been on the mic. I've been telling people this. Because I understand the mindset. Because when I was out there discharging debt, trying to buy cars and get houses, you're going to have some successes. You are. That's why I'm not going to discourage you from trying to do it. You're going to have successes. Some of you are going to get some houses. You're going to look up on the right situation at the right time and discharge a debt. Bam, you got a house. You're going to look up on the right situation at the right time. Bam, you got an automobile. It's happened to me. It's happened to me. So, I'm not going to tell nobody. I'd be hating if I told you not to go do it. But I want to caution you. I got to pull back, because everybody, we on a public platform, YouTube. You got 9 million people out there going to try to do it. What do you think your chances of success, if it's going to happen, is 9 million people out there trying to do the same thing? Not very good. I can tell you that. It's a lot of people that day trade. But anyway, brother, you have something else you want to add? Oh, he got dropped. Oh, I guess his call got dropped. Is bringing you back in? What happened? You got dropped
Hey,
off?
I'm back, sir.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
you
sir.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. What I wanted to verify is exactly what you said. It's the whole echo chambers, because that's what other groups I've been in, they've been saying that, and I just had a feeling that isn't right, in the sense of, you're going to give something, you got to take something, or you take something, you got to give. So I'm totally agreeing with you, is what you said about these people in echo chambers, sovereign citizen, not my jurisdiction. You're exactly right, because that's what they're trying to peddle. So I appreciate what you telling the truth.
I want to talk about that. I've been doing this. Y'all hear me say all the time, I've been doing this 20 years, and it is true. I've been doing it for 20 years. And, in the beginning, I used to read and see that they would say the sovereign citizens are a terrorist group, or the sovereign citizens, they are broke. That'd be tough too. Basically they say a bunch of people who can't get a job or are broke. They would say that about them and things like that. And I used to kind of defend against it. I'm like, nah, that's not true what you're saying. But I can see today that it has gone to a point that, yeah, I can see what they're saying now. I can see what they're saying. It's like, yeah, it's like the excuses and the constant anger and the finger pointing. It always goes back. I remember when I first did this, an attorney I got this public defender, and he was talking to me, and he went and saw the paperwork I filed, and he came back. He told me, he said, he was smiling. He was like, "Oh, you're just trying to defend yourself. You're trying to protect yourself. I see what you're doing." He said, "You know what?" He said, "You know what?" He said, "We can deal with the ones like you." He said, "It's the angry ones we can't deal with." Man, when he said that, yeah, listen, you got to understand that up until this point, I had no evidence that any of this was real. This is in the very beginning when I first did this. I didn't start seeing that it was real. I'm gonna give you the three situations that told me it was real. First, that was the first conversation. When he looked at it, he said, because he was like giving me some inside information. That's how he was talking to me. He said, "Look, let me tell you something. I know we're gonna be able to deal with ones like you. It's those ones that come in there angry and all that. We can't deal with them." And then my attorney, when I sent him a letter of rogatory, he wrote me a letter saying, "How do you know this? Who taught you this?" And praising me and telling what I was going to do. I lost the letter. I did not, but see, got to thing. I wasn't thinking about doing all of this and coming out and proving stuff to people. But, and then the last time was, and this is the last time I knew it was written. These all attorneys now. These attorneys.
Right.
It was this rocket scientist. I don't know if you know. He worked at this rocket base, and he had gotten caught doing dope. Now this dude is a rocket scientist. He's a rocket scientist, and on his break, he was sniffing some cocaine or something like that. I think it was crack actually. This dude is a rocket scientist, y'all. They are. I want to tell y'all something. You would be surprised at how many professionals are on drugs. Attorneys, all of them on drugs. All right, you'd be surprised. But anyway, he's a rocket scientist. He's got caught, I think, sniffing some coke or something like that. I won't say it was crack, but I think it was crack. But anyway, he's in jail. So he come over to my table talking to me because I got a lot of paperwork out. You know, I'm doing work and reading and helping people with their cases and stuff. So he comes over, he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" I started explaining it to him, and then I started telling him about this straw man stuff and all of this stuff and how the courts are really operating. He said, "Huh?" He said, "You know what? My brother is an attorney. He has his own plane. He's flying over here to get me right now." He said, "I'm going to call him and ask him about it." So I said, can I listen?" He said, "Yeah." So I go over to the payphones with him. So he called his brother. He called his brother on the plane. He said, "Yeah, what's up?" He said, "Yeah, I'm on my way to come get you right now, blah, blah, blah." I'm listening to him. He said, "Okay." So then he asked him, he said, "Say, there's a guy in here. He has some paperwork," and then he started explaining it to him. He said, "I just want to know, is any of this stuff real?" This is exact, and I'm listening. You know, he holding the phone, and he let me have my ear to the phone with him. He let me listen to his brother speak. And this is exactly what I heard, word for word, what he heard. He said, "Hell yeah, it's real. How did he get that shit in there?" He said, "I don't know."
Wow.
He said, "I don't know." He said, "But I just want to know it's real." He said, "Yeah, it's real." He said, "But they can hold him up to a year. Ask him if he want to sue."
Oh.
Now listen, I'm going to tell all my listeners this because I'm not going to keep talking on that. Read into that whatever you want, but I dealt with some undercovers too. There was a lot of people. The reason that I do this, I have stayed so consistent with this and have not let it go, okay, is because of the things that were told to me in the beginning by listening to attorneys and people like that and people giving me information. Even with the discharge of debt, and buying a house, I gave a bill of exchange to an attorney. When we went to his office and gave it to him, because this girl, she was staying in his house, when we gave him the bill of exchange, he looked at it, he knew exactly what it was. He said to me, he said, "Have you did this before?" And I lied. I said, "Yeah." He knew what it was. So 10 days later, it came back. He said, "Well, look," he said, "it didn't clear." He said, "But the bank is saying that this could possibly be fraud." He said, "Possibly." Okay, so Tamar, who is the girl who I'm talking about, who just got out of that case, she told me, she said, don't, you don't accept that. You need to go up his office, get your instrument back. So I took a friend. We go up to the attorney's office. We catch him at closing time. He in the office by himself. We two big black dudes come into the office talking about we want our bill of exchange back. He said, hey, look, guys, look, when you're doing those type of processes, you got to fund the account. You got to draw those funds down into the account. Those accounts don't have any money in them. They have to be drawn down into them. And then he gave me a copy of what I had went through the system and everything. And we were just, our mouths were on the floor because he was explaining it to us.
Wow.
And let me tell you something else. I did find some instructions similar to what he was telling me, and it involves, I'm going to say this, you having a DTC participant, which is why I stick close to Steve Brewer. That's why I'm trying to get y'all to come to these webinars that we're doing, but you don't think that you need to. You're going to pay that $297. You ain't getting around that. That's the lowest it's going to go. You ain't going to get around it. All right. That's why I'm doing it. And you have to have a trust. You have to have a trust, and you have to become a DTC participant to fund that Treasury Direct account that y'all are talking about. Y'all think y'all just going to run up in somewhere? First of all, that money has to be directed. It has to be governed. Nobody's giving you some money so you can go out and run out and buy houses and cars, fool. That's what they think. I'm going to go out and just get this money in my TDA account and run out. Like Heather Antucci them did when I started buying yachts and shit. That's why they went to jail. I know a lot of stuff. But you ain't ready to start doing it because you don't have the mindset, because all you want is to try to figure out is how to get something for nothing. And you will never go anywhere in that space within this space with that mindset. Nobody's going to open any doors for you. No, you're not going to find out any information. Nothing's ever going to shake for you because you got the wrong mindset. Is there anything else? I got to go to Tennessee next.
Yes, sir. Two things. Is there a difference between, how you join on the YouTube channel? Is that different from just going to SBC, or just go to SBC?
Yeah, just go to SBC. I haven't I'm going to set my YouTube channel membership up because, I could put a lot of stuff and I think I'm going to do that. I think what I'm going to do, if I just upload all my old webinars on the membership on YouTube, I think a lot of people would appreciate that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to upload some of my old stuff from back in the day, all my GSA bonds and corresponding with public officials and doing administrative processes and that. Because back then, I used to do webinars for like 8 hours, 2 days. I thought that back in the day when I started, I thought you conducted webinars like you conduct seminars. So my webinars would be from 9 in the morning to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Sometimes they went to 5 in the afternoon on Saturday and Sunday. I would do webinars like that because I wanted to explain every single thing about the process. Like, for instance, when you deal with me, you're gonna make sure you've read this security agreement and know what every word in it means. See, that's what I did in the beginning. I made sure that all the documents that I was reading, I made sure that there wasn't a single word in it I didn't know the meaning of. I would always make sure that wasn't a single word in any document that I filed that I know the meaning of, that I had looked up, studied thoroughly, looked it up in a Black's Law Dictionary, and read everything under the definition, even the expert commentary on every single word. So that's where you got to be at. You know what I'm saying? You're going to do some of these things. But a lot of people, they just want somebody to tell them how to do it and go out and do it. It's not going to work for you. First of all, you're not even convinced in your mind. A large part of any success is the mental vibratory frequencies that you're emitting out into the universe. And if you have any type of doubt in what you're doing, it's probably not going to work for you. Doubt is a result of lack of knowledge. You're not sure of yourself because you don't know what you're doing. Once you get to the point you fully understand and know what you're doing, you're going to have confidence, and that's when you're going to start having successes. But you got to know it. Yeah. And then you need to stay. What if there may be some things you can't do, like people trying to discharge rent. You can't use any of these processes for rent.
man. Yeah.
They're trying to do
No,
rent. You know, I'm seeing people all the time in a unlawful detainer or an eviction where they renting an apartment or something. They're trying to use this process. You can't. You something. That's why I said read Moses Washington, the exemption, and using your exemption, and he will break that down to. I just really feel like there's some foundational documents a lot of people should read so that we can manage expectations. Because a lot of you have unrealistic expectations. But there are documents that have been out for a very long time that can help you, that will give you a realistic view of what will happen when you attempt to discharge a debt. And that is Moses Washington's, he got two documents, about 24 pages apiece, using your exemption and the exemption. And you should read both of them.
Okay. Yeah. No, I really appreciate it because, like I was in these other groups. They talk all this stuff, and I have found you somehow, and it's exactly like you said. They're just saying shit and don't know it. Like you said, don't know the words. So I appreciate it. I did. Guess what? I did go to college in Milledgeville, so I'm familiar with what you talked about down there in Georgia. There's Georgia College and State University.
Right.
Just throwing that out there. And
Right.
I'll be on the tonight with Mr. Brewer. He looks like an Ozzie Smith to me, but I appreciate you and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's dip over to Mississippi real quick. And listen, when I tell you all these things, you know, it's from that. And when it happened to me, I mean, I felt like I was like I just saw somebody's video on YouTube where it looks like he's going through the exact same thing I went through. And that's why sometimes I'll do shows like when I did that spiritual economy or whatever, I forgot what I called it, spiritual economics. Yeah. The reason I did that is because I was hoping someone like him would see it, because when you're going through some sort of criminal type of situation, you know, where you're looking at time, all right, you got to have some solid spiritual grounding. You got to have spiritual grounding because you're going to be wrestling with a lot of emotions. You're going to be wrestling with despair. You're going to be wrestling with fear, despair, doubt, anger. You're going to get angry at times. You know, you're going to be wrestling with all of that. So you need something that can mitigate that for you. And that's where you have to turn to God. You got, you know, that, and you know why I'm saying that? Because those are the situations where you're forced to. He puts you in that situation. It's almost like you're being tested, or you're being selected, or you're being called for something. All right. But you have to, he's forcing you to turn to a higher power or a higher source. A higher power or a higher source. I'm not saying that you should, like, I'm not telling you to worship. You know what I mean? I'm telling you to commune with God. To commune with God. And what I mean with commune, and that's why it's good to read the Bible, because or any type of scripture, because it's a gateway into communing with God. Because there are truths, universal truths and principles in those books. You shouldn't just throw those books out because you think the white man created it or something like that, or it's some nonsense, or men created it or something. Those are people who say that who don't actually read the book. Those are people who don't have any knowledge of spiritual principles or natural law principles where they can read a book and identify the truth that exists within it. Yes, it's been watered down and put into a form that would be unrecognizable to people 6,000 years. I won't debate you on that point. However, principles never change. And if you're able to master principles, you can identify them, and that will help you understand what the book is attempting to convey to you. And what it's attempted to convey to you is an understanding of who you are and how natural laws operate within the universe and your relationship to those natural laws. It's trying to bring you into conscious communication to the fact that the universe was constructed for your benefit. It is not your enemy. It's only your enemy when you don't know who you are. It's like a baby walking around with an AK-47. All right, you don't know what to do with it, so it's just shooting in all directions. You're causing chaos, but you got this weapon called a mind, and you were brought here without an instruction manual on how to use it. So all you think it's for is for hearing uh, thoughts in your head, but it's so much more. So much more. Go to Mississippi real quick. Mississippi, you're on the line. What's on your mind?
What's up, Mr. Yusufville, man? It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Hey, what's happening, brother? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling well. I'm feeling all right. Bad news, I just lost my job, but I have a lot more time to study the information that you're giving out.
Hold on for a second. We're going to back that up. We're going to pull that back. It is not a bad thing that you lost your job. You say, God is pushing me to a better situation.
I think that's exactly what it is. I'm not
That is what it
bad.
is. That is what it is. That's what it is. And when you get to that situation, you're going to say, man, I'm thankful I lost that job, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be right here enjoying this bounty that God has provided for me right now. See, that's keeping a positive mental attitude. Don't ever allow yourself to fall into negativity in any capacity. Don't ever monitor your internal dialogue. You got to be constantly vigilant and watching out for things that you say to yourself. That happened to you for a good thing. Remember, I said the universe is here for your benefit. It's love that you lost that job. He might have lost that job because somebody gonna come up and shoot up the place tomorrow. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what it was.
Yeah,
you don't know. You know, so
so
but you can. It takes just as much energy to look at it from a negative vantage point as it does to a positive. Choose the positive path, and all that will come to you is positivity. If you choose the negative path, you are walking down the path of negativity. It's going to keep on coming into your space. So always choose positive. And I know sometimes it can be hard. It's not good losing your job, but those are the times you got to exercise the discipline of mind. Okay, that's where it's a laborious activity. It's controlling your thoughts and forcing yourself to think positively and to see it into a positive light. These are the times where the war of attrition is won or lost, at these points like this. And a lot of different situations can create it. But I'm sorry, go ahead, because I'll just keep talking.
Be honest, if I would have been at work right now and missed your live. I've been missing a lot of your lives. I'll be at work.
That's right. That's right.
And I'll be trying to keep up with you. I got a question for you though. I caught a felony charge. It's a DUI charge. And I was planning on moving out of Mississippi, moving back to Indiana. And I'm trying to get them to hurry up and indict me because I'm basically the evidence isn't there. But the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm not scared to go to court. I done filed my own motions. I done got in trouble. I done got myself out of jail. But I want to do it the right way, the private way.
Well, okay, that's gonna take some doing. A DUI, huh? And you want them they don't have any evidence? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they don't have any physical evidence at all. No breathalyzer, no blood.
Okay,
no,
well, you're gonna do that, then how you force them to do that? You file a demand for a speedy trial. You know, that's how you do that.
Can I do that while I'm outside of jail? I know you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it while you're outside of jail. Yes, you can do it. That's that's a Sixth Amendment right, protected right to a speedy trial. So yeah, you know, for whatever, if they are allowing, if they're sitting on something and allowing it to to age, then that's on you. You got to move to court. You can move to court just like they can. So you move to court. You got to put them on the clock. See, you haven't put them on the clock. See, filing speedy trial just puts them on the clock, because if they don't bring you to trial within a certain, usually it's like in Georgia, it's a term of court. I don't know how they do it in your state, but in Georgia, it's 2 terms of court. Once you file the demand for speedy trial, they got 2 terms to bring it. So let me tell you how you can use, because I used it as a strategy. let's say they got you locked up in jail and you've been in there for, let's say you're in a county, because it's county specific too, like in Georgia. It goes by the population, a term. So like a term in like Fulton County might be 2 months, whereas a term in one of them counties way out there in no man's land might be every 6 months, because there's not as many people who live out there. So the first thing you have to determine is how many terms of court there are, and then where in the first term you're at. Like 2 terms in Georgia would be in Fulton would be January, February, 1 term, March, and April, the 2nd term. Well, if I file a demand for speedy trial, let's say on February 28th, now they only have instead of 120 days to bring me to trial, now they only got 60. So you can use it as a strategy too, if you know what you're doing. Filing the demand for speedy trial, it can be used as a chess move, most definitely. But that's if they don't have any evidence and no witnesses or anything like that. Why wouldn't you? All they're going to be looking for you to do is take a plea deal. That's all they're going to let you sit until they get to a point to get to you, and then they will come and offer you a plea deal.
That's exactly what they're trying. Well, they actually put me on this band, and I have to pay $84 a week. And I'm like, well, when y'all gonna indict me so I can beat this case? They got people waiting.
Why wouldn't they? You got you paying $84 a week. I wouldn't hurry up either. Shit, I'm gonna make some money. $84 a week.
Right. $300 something a month, man. I can't.
That's pimping. What's pimping? Let me tell you something. I understand why a lot of people are mad. I want to let me back up on something. I understand why a lot of y'all get mad at the government. Like when I saw that video of that gentleman being held in jail for 120 days without being indicted, it took me back to my situation. And I remember how pissed off I was when I was coming into the courtroom getting at their ass too. So I understand where the anger comes from. All I'm trying to do is try to prevent you from making the same mistakes I made. Because I let my anger and my arrogance get control of me to a point where probably would have almost got my life taken from me from these people. But I let that, just go to a high level, and then I had to understand how to exercise humility. And what helps me exercise humility is because God showed up in my life, and I don't ever want to do anything to make him upset with me, because I am eternally grateful for him showing up in my life. And I don't ever want to show any type of ingratitude for that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I would be doing now if I was going out trying to womanize, sleep with a whole bunch of different women, drinking, involved in a whole bunch of debauchery and things like that. So, I monitor my associations. I try to monitor what I eat. And do a lot of things like that to try to actually take steps to live in an honorable and equitable fashion now. And because of that, and humility is a big part of that. But at the same time, I ain't gonna accept nobody coming on my channel talking about you want to debate somebody. No, I'm supposed to kill you. I'm supposed to kill you dead.
I agree.
I'm gonna kill you
totally
dead.
Agree.
All right. I'm an assassin.
I agree.
I'm going to kill you dead. All right. That's what I'm looking to do. Utterly destroy you. All right. And not leave anything left. That's what you're going to do. You're going to sick me on somebody. That's what I'm trying to do. That is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that. I'm following the 48 laws of power. Destroy your enemy completely. And
so
make an example.
Coming back.
Make an example. Next.
So nobody else ever.
Make an example. Because he watching over you for evil. He's watching over you.
Seville?
Yeah, I'm right here. Go ahead.
I've been watching you. I've been watching you for 3 years. I've been studying. I've been on your website. Man, I just want to let you know that you are a very big, how can I say, influence in my life, man, for real.
I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that. And that's why I try to be a good example, because I know it's a lot of people watching me, and I'm like building up business, and I want people to follow my lead, and change their life. That's why I'm always talking about being an entrepreneur, having that courage to step out. I remember when I first left, when I first got to Atlanta, right? I hooked up with Dr. Malachi Z.
Ah,
York.
you breaking up.
Am I breaking up? And that right there is what
You was
led.
breaking up. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that, when I first got to Atlanta, I hooked up with this gentleman, Dr. Malachi Z. York, and that's what led me to being an entrepreneur.
I'm sorry, Yusavelle. You're still breaking up. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think am I breaking up in the I think that might just be on your phone, man. That's you. That's not anybody else. It might be
Something going wrong.
something in
I'm
the
gonna have to
connection.
catch you on your next live, and trust me, I am.
Okay,
Because I
brother.
can't really even understand what's going on. So I'm gonna just get off, okay?
Okay, brother. All
Pleasure
right.
talking to you. Love you.
Love you too, bro. Bye. Yeah, it was what happened was he made a statement that I never forget. He said we should be able to drop you off up in Washington State or anywhere in the country. As a man, I should be able to put you in a car, drive you anywhere in the country in America, put you out, and come back 6 months later and you have something going for yourself. That was the kind of thing that we were under. It's like you got to have something going for yourself. No matter where you go in the country, you should be able to make something shake for yourself, no matter where you are. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me. And it was at that point it became a thing of get rich or die trying. And also, I'm gonna tell you what else had a big influence on me. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And also coming to an understanding that I can't have a plan B. The power of not having a plan B. You got to be all in. If you ain't all in, if you got a plan B, you planning to fail. You planning to fail. Planning to fail. He said he didn't want to hear about Malachi. He probably did. I don't know. But when I did, but that's true. When I hooked up with him, he had a big, but Dr. Malachi Z. York, let me say this about Dr. Malachi Z. York. Regardless of what people, how they feel about him or talk about him, most of which you don't really know him, or he had a very big impact on a lot of individuals. And I will say this, he was an extremely intelligent man. Uh, I hadn't met anybody, a black man, up until that point that was that intelligent, other than Farrakhan. At that point, I was kind of like idolized Farrakhan a lot because I like how Farrakhan, how much courage he had, and speaking how articulate he was with his words and things like that. But I'd never met anybody that memorized the Quran and knew it in Arabic and understood Hebrew and Greek and all these different languages and were teaching about science and all of these different things and it was just it was captivating and it was very captivating. It was very, very interesting. But it did. I think if you look, a lot of the people you see out in the landscape today who are successful, people got 19 in their name and things, or people talking about overstand and all these different things you hear people say. All that originates with him. All that originates with him. Talking about 666 and 6 electrons, neutrons, and all of that. That's from the holy tablets. You put out a lot of information that's circulating around. A lot of you are utilizing, and you don't know where it came from. A lot of it came from him because his followers were very intelligent, the women and the men. They did possess characteristics, in my view. A lot of them had extremely good memories. Everybody loved to read. Everybody loved to read. And everybody had a quality of faithfulness about them and respect. And not everybody had decency. I'm not gonna say that. But it was don't believe everything you hear. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Don't believe everything you hear. They follow and track us now. If you do any sovereign citizen type processes, especially with drone, I think all that stuff that y'all talk about on the internet is dead, in my opinion. But It's dead. It's too many of y'all talking about it. They coming into the courtroom. They posting a video almost every day of y'all coming into the courtroom trying that stuff. Almost every day. Almost every day. You understand what I'm saying? That's how many people are going into the courtroom trying these sovereign citizen defenses. It's somebody almost every day they posting stuff now. It's like it's never been like that. Never been like that. Have you read about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth? Of course I've read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. What do you mean? Yes. Yes, very much. They talk about the principles in there. The law, cause, and effect. Like, for instance, it tells you in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the ability to predict the future comes with the knowledge of understanding cause and effect. Because for every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there's a cause. So if you understand cause and effect, you can prophesy. It's called the keys to prophecy in the Emerald Tablets. I just threw that out there just to prove to you that I've read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I like the Doriel version. Doriel version is my favorite version. Man, that look good on there. Boy, that looks so good on there. That looks good. All right, y'all, look. All right. So I'm going to end the call in. Once again, I want to invite everybody out to the webinar that we're having tonight with Mr. Brewer. It's going to be at 7:00 Central Standard Time. It's on DTC participation. If you're interested, like I said, that's why I do all of this, because when they told me that, okay, you're going to have to be a DTC, that's why I was interested in the Tony King information, because they're talking about you got to be a DTC participant. You got to know how to put together a private trust. That's the pathway that you're going to have to take if you're going to get involved with this. You got to get rid of this notion that somebody's just going to give you some money without you providing value. That's not going to happen. All right. I haven't seen anything on the private or public side where that is happening at all. There's no free money that's going to be dispensed to you. Get rid of that. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But you go right now over sbcuniversity.com and you can register for tonight's webinar. As I said, it's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're going to be going over private placement memorandums, DTC participation, securities, CUSIP numbers, ISIN numbers, get you an understanding of all of this, and compliance. Okay, how do you put this together and make it comply where it'll be acceptable? I want to thank somebody. People signing up. People are signing up for it. I appreciate that. Who is this? DeMonte Sykes. Okay. All right. Who else signing up? Got somebody else down here. All right. Okay. Who is this right here? Kyra Parks. All right. I'll see you tonight. All right. We'll see you tonight. Okay, let's see. Audio only. Let me see. I gotta hang all this up. Did I hang all this up? Yeah, I got it all hung up. All right. Okay. Like, comment, and subscribe. Would I review trust? Yeah, I review trust documents from individuals all the time. Yes, I love doing that. Love doing that. Just give me your trust document. I'll break it down for you. I'll tell you if it's good or if it's bad. Yeah, that's something I probably need to start doing, huh? Just start reviewing people's trust. Let's see, what does DTC mean? Depository Trust Corporation. They have something called Depository Trust Clearing Corporation too. and they got a holding company called Seed Corporation. They say, some people pronounce it CD Corporation, but it's a holding company. But DTC means Depository Trust Corporation. It's on 55 Water Street up in New York. Okay, and that's it for me right now. I hope to see y'all tonight at the webinar. And boy, this looks good. I'm just loving what I'm seeing with this with these views and everything. How y'all like the color? I had to go and play with the camera. I'm getting mastered at these cameras, y'all. I'm figuring out the lenses, and I love it. I think I'm gonna get into photography. Anyway, y'all have it. Take it easy. I have a wonderful afternoon. I hope to see you tonight at the webinar.